23 minutes, I think. Am I saying it right? 23 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in this Monday morning. I don't know where we get the impression that everybody can be defined by their gender or by their ethnicity. We're all so different from one another, and sometimes it takes somebody to open up our eyes. If I were to talk about my mom, I would say, "Gosh, my mom was a strong lady. My mom was a stubborn lady. My mom wouldn't take anything from anybody." And how many of you can say that about your mom? I'm sure most of you can. Your moms were strong. Robin, your mom was strong. Laurice Simon Salum is on the phone. She has written a book called Ensoulment, Exploring the Feminine Principle in Western Culture. It's an anthology of the complete interviews that she performed in the documentary, including the new participants. Laurice's resume includes that she's a writer, which is obvious, an award-winning director. She's the producer of the company Literally Short, the co-producer of the documentary feature Ensoulment, and we're talking about that very thing. Laurice Simon Salum. Good morning, Laurice. How are you?
Good morning, Larry. I'm great. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, whenever we think we know what a label means, we're wrong. We're always wrong. The label may or may not mean what we think it means. Right?
I think you're completely right. I think something that we mentioned in the film of Ensoulment was this Sapir-Whorf hypothesis that talked about how language influences how we think and how we perceive the world. And words have a lot of power, and they mean something to us either consciously or unconsciously. So I think we do need to choose our terms correctly so that we have a better sense of the world we live in.
And the whole idea that gender is being redefined in today's day and age, not necessarily the sexual gender. I'm not really necessarily referring to that. I just mean the roles that we play and the roles that we're expected to play, and the things that are, what was that whole thing we watched, Rob, in the video that's throw like a girl? Remember that one?
Oh,
or
yes.
Run like a girl. Remember the whole like a girl thing?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's really, I mean, if you have any women in your life that you love, daughters, mothers, sisters, you don't say that, well, that doesn't apply to any of them, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't see why there should be any difference. I mean, you have extremely sensitive men that are excellent at talking about what they feel, that are even better fathers than many mothers out there. And then you have women that, they can be CEOs of Yahoo, for example, and it's gender has nothing to do with it.
So the interesting thing is you spoke to a lot of people about this very topic, and were you surprised with some of the, were you surprised? Did your own preconceived notions about somebody's, what you thought they'd probably say, were you surprised by what they actually said?
Yes, very much so. So when I started the project, I thought that I was making a film about feminism, because when I was 19 years old, my mother took me to this retreat from the Marion Woodman Foundation, and they talked about the feminine and the feminine here, the feminine there, and so it moved me so much that it stayed with me for years after I finished college. And when I just did not know what to do with my life, and so I thought that what I was passionate about was women, which I thought that's what they were talking about in the retreat, that it was how to be a better woman, or I don't know, something of that sort. But as I started interviewing more and more people, it just hit me, and I thought, wow, this has nothing to do with women. This has to do with the feminine, which is more of an energy or a way of being around the world. It's like a perspective that is kind of promoting the gender discrimination, and not only that, but it's also how we put down environmental issues, for example, or just the way of leaving that human part of us behind profits and strategies and structure. So I think that was a pretty big realization for me.
When you spoke to somebody who gave you answers to your questions that you disagreed with, did you refrain from debating them?
I think it depended. For example, this is kind of a touchy subject, but we interviewed a woman, and she brought up the topic of gender came up, and she was saying that we weren't going to really win a battle until the men from. She gave an example of men inviting strippers over, and until men don't walk out of the room when the stripper walks in, then we really haven't made a difference. And so that to me was like, well, I don't know if I necessarily agree, because I know that a lot of these women, they're in there under their own will. There's some that aren't, but there are many that are. So it was something that I just wasn't sure about. But, it didn't really have anything to do with the film itself, because we weren't talking about women or gender discrimination. So I think I chose my battles. When it came to something that was just essential about the film, I think I was mostly surprised, since I didn't know myself. I mean, this whole film was made to discover something for myself as well about what the feminine was. So I wasn't in a position to say that they were wrong, for example. But whenever we went on the outskirts of that topic, I think I just chose my battles.
So is it harder for a woman to find her ensoulment than it is for a man to find his?
No, I think not at all. I mean, this topic was fascinating to me because, as I mentioned before, we asked a lot about women at first because that's what we thought we were talking about. But in all these conversations, men came up a lot. And in one interview with one author and psychotherapist, James Hollis, he spoke to us about the stereotypical situation of men is seen from a woman's perspective. So he said, imagine three things: your network of relatives you trust with your feelings, your obstacles, the people you just vent to, that community is completely severed from you. Second, people only measure you as a person depending on how much money you have. And third, the language that women tend to have more so than men in talking about your innermost emotions is again taken away from you. And he said that's the basic condition of most men. And that just opened my eyes to seeing how much our culture as a whole has focused on women, pushing them forth, and it has completely left men behind. But men have that capacity just as much as women, and I think that it's just imperative that they do recover that part of themselves so that we can all move together to a better society.
But when you use the word culture, you're encompassing every culture. It's all multicultural that you speak about, and that's very fascinating to me. There are no walls.
No, absolutely not. I think that the more now with the internet, I think the boundaries are sort of stretching out, and we have the ability to look into other countries and other languages. There's nothing that isn't within our reach. But, with the more power we have in this, there's this quote from Spider-Man that with more power comes more responsibility.
Oh, I love that.
We do have that. We do have that power, but we have also the responsibility to see that we're not different. Just because someone speaks Chinese, it doesn't mean that they don't want love and that they don't want fulfillment, or that they have a need to, survive and put food on the table.
Yeah, I've often thought when somebody is complaining about a whole gender, like men are all stubborn or whatever statement you want to make, or women are all whatever, is that whether it's true or not is not important. What's true is that one person who's going to be your counterpart. That's the important one. What happens, hopefully this doesn't sound too crude, but what happens between your legs isn't as important as what happens through your hands than through your mind. The things you're building and baking and drawing and creating are more important than the way you love somebody.
I think that's very true, and it has to do with every individual. It just depends 100%. I have refrained a lot from, just in casual conversations and speaking with my friends when they said, oh, men, and I always try to I'm not aggressive, and I don't try to impose what I believe in every single small talk, but I do kind of remind people, like, no, well, I think he's that way because of the so-and-so in his background, or I think she's different because her situation is that way, and because we would always we always think we would act differently in that situation, but we just don't know until we pass through those shoes. And I think that's a really, really good point, Larry.
And I think people over 25, they're kind of like being stereotypical now, because when you hear ads on TV, you hear these advertisements saying that girls should be more into math and science, and they're making programs for that. But I had overheard a conversation between a mom and her daughter. The daughter was going into middle school next year, and then the mom was asking the daughter what she wanted to take. The daughter said, "Oh, I want to take math and I want to take science because I'm really interested in that." And then the mother says, "Well, what about sports? There's track and volleyball and stuff." And it's almost like the parent is trying to force the child into a niche instead of letting them explore their own creativity and passion.
Yeah, I have felt that a lot, and I think that is also why I've also felt some resentment in the feminist movement. A lot of people don't want to be associated with it anymore, and I think it's just getting a little one-sided at this point. We're pushing women to be men, but not men from this era, but men from the past era, where they work and work and work, and that's all that there is for them as well. And we're finding out that that's very hurtful for men as well. So at a time where we're trying to push men to be okay with being stay-at-home dads, we're not permitting women to continue being stay-at-home moms, for example, and that's completely wrong. You need to help a person be whoever they want to be with absolutely no judgment. And one thing is to help them, as I mentioned before, just be able to survive and adapt and be able to be independent. That's one thing. But another thing is to completely cut their dreams and say, this is what you have to do. I think life is humongous, and there's always time to do both things. You can do your work, and then you can have the time for yourself, for your soul, or for whatever it is that you're inspired to do.
You're a deep thinking person, Laurice Simon Salum. The book is called Ensoulment. Now, I wanted to ask you about the second part of the subtitle. The first part is exploring this feminine principle. The second part is in Western culture. So that's clearly an important part of this, because we couldn't even have this conversation in some places.
Yes, we had a very long conversation about this at the beginning of the project. We had to settle only with Western culture because we had to be honest about what we could talk about in a 1 hour long movie, but also because it's not like we were fluent in Eastern traditions or African traditions, etc. And one thing is to read about them, and another thing is to, feel entitled to talk about them. So I'm not an expert outside in other cultures, but having said that, I think that there is an ongoing trend around the globe. We used Western culture as the reference point because, of course, this is where the book came out, where the movie came out, and this is where we live. But I mean, still, I just see that it's a trend that we see in other cultures, that it's like they put economics or big company news over, for example, like peaceful foreign relations or the LGBTQ without it being a sensationalism thing. So it's internationally, it's just like what the public figures like Gandhi and Nelson Mandela and the Dalai Lama are talking about, all these sorts of ideas. And you can see how we definitely listen to them, but internationally we don't necessarily practice them.
I think a man understands women better after he's had a daughter. I think a woman might understand men better after she's had a son. There's something about understanding the childhood of the two sexes, that helps us understand the opposite sex a little bit. Let me take a little break, and we'll be right back. The book again is called Ensoulment. If you're looking at the streaming video, you are looking at the cover of the book, which I found online, and I'm guessing that's also where you can find the book. Let me take a little break right back. Right now, we'll be right back with Laurice Simon Salum in just a moment.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. A mix of clouds and sunshine Monday, breezy this afternoon. High Monday 77 to 83 degrees. Monday night, patchy clouds, low 55 to 66. Tuesday, a mix of clouds and sunshine. Breezy in the afternoon on Tuesday. High 78 to 83. Wednesday, sunny to partly cloudy and becoming breezy. High 78 to 83 on Wednesday. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Mike Lucini.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. Our tractor services include bush hog, disking, front end loader, box blade, and stump grinding. We also have zero-turn mowers for the smaller paddocks, aisleways, fence rows, and lawn care. Fence row spraying is also available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440, or online at powellgene, Gene, at yahoo.com. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing.
Are you wasting hundreds or thousands of dollars on termite retreat fees? If you're not with Turner Pest Control, you probably are. Turner Pest Control offers the industry's only termite and pest control package that never charges retreat fees, ever. You can get started today for only $99. This is a value of $500 or more. This includes treatments, installation of monitoring stations, quarterly pest control, and a lifetime guarantee, all for an unbelievable low $99. Even if you have another pest control provider, visit turnerpest.com to find out how you can avoid paying those high termite retreat fees.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hi, this is Becky at Hello Gorgeous Salon. Let's get rid of those sun-damaged ends and faded out color and get into something rich and vibrant. It's time to get that new look started. So call today and set up your appointment at Hello Gorgeous Salon, 351-5358. Hello Gorgeous is a certified Brazilian blowout salon. We can tame those locks, leaving your hair healthy and shiny with a Brazilian smoothing treatment. And whether you're going on a job interview or out on a date, your hands do a lot of talking. Manicures are a must. Hello Gorgeous is a full-service salon, so let us help you make a great first impression. Call us today to set your appointment at Hello Gorgeous. Our number is 352-351-5358. Again, that's 352-351-5358. Hello Gorgeous is conveniently located in the heart of downtown Ocala, right next to the historic Marion Theater. And don't forget, we also do men and children's cuts too.
Hello, gorgeous.
Joe Reichel, how are you? What's new?
Well, Jan, Intech is hosting an event on Tuesday, April 11th. If aging is pushing you out of your home, we will tell you how you can push back.
Well, what I'm pushing is 60, so I would love to attend for Palm Garden.
Oh, I'd love to see you there. Be at Intech on Tuesday, April 11th at 10:30. Register by calling 352-351-0114. That's 352-351-0114.
All right. Oh gosh, 5 minutes left. See how it is, Robin? When there's a good interview, the time.
I know.
This is the Einstein theory, right? It's all relative based on how good the interview is.
That's right.
Larissa, I asked you about your last name. Am I saying your middle name right? Is it Simone or Simon?
Yes, it's either one. It's actually my last name as well. I have two last names. I was born in Mexico, so that's how we do it over there.
Oh, Larissa Simone Salum. Am I saying that? Is that right?
Yes, that is perfectly right.
Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. The book is called Ensoulment: Exploring the Feminine Principle in Western Culture. There are so many different people you spoke to that you are documenting in the book. Did you speak to them in person or was it on the phone? How did you interview them?
We interviewed all of them in person, so we took a couple of months of just traveling around and getting to meet everyone, making appointments and so on. It was a little bit hectic, but it was great.
How did you choose the people you chose?
Well, it was a combination between luck, I think, and perhaps a lot of persistence. There were some people that I definitely knew I wanted in the film. For example, the women that I found in the retreat in Mexico I went to that initiated, the idea for the project. And so them I talked to in person. I said I would love for you to be in this film, but other people I looked up online. I would go and find out who the experts were in the areas that I was covering, the media, religion, men, etc.
Yeah.
And I would contact them. And so a lot of them said no, and a lot of them said yes. And then there were also a few that for example, Megan Watterson, she spoke in the area of religion. And I found her on Facebook. I commented on someone, and she commented on there, and I had heard her name before somewhere, so I clicked on her profile, and I just thought, wow, what are the odds? And I messaged her, and I just thought it was crazy that we were talking about this deep subject, and yet I was trying to, contact people through Facebook. But so it was a mix of a bunch of circumstances.
Do you have any hopes for the open dialogue that you are basically? I mean, you're sharing this with all of us. Does it give you hope that maybe one day, whatever differences there are between the two sexes, will be worked out, at least in Western culture?
I do have a hope. I think that naturally, whenever you start a movement, it's natural that you swing to the other side and you become all about, whatever you're promoting in the first place. So in this case, we're all about women right now. And I do think that it just, as a pattern, it will swing back to the center. And it's never, it's always a movement. Everything's always in motion. I don't think we're ever going to be perfect. But I think it is, I do trust that, that spiral, that you don't move in a linear way, you move in a spiral, so you come to the same place, but then you're at a different level. So I think that we will move more towards a balanced culture, but I do think we have to work on it. I think it is important to have these sorts of conversations, and the way we raise our kids, the way we parent our kids, and the way we talk to other people. I think that's a big part of it as well.
Yeah, the women's movement from a few weeks ago, it sounded like everything that they were asking to change in society had nothing to do with the law, because the laws are pretty much in place. It had to do with men's behavior. And I said to Robin, I said, it sounds like what they're asking for is, somebody who was brought up to respect women, and that is almost. I mean, and in that case, you would want at least one person. You may not change every man, but hopefully you'll find that one. I mean, hopefully that's the way my son is, and hopefully that's the way I've learned how to live in this life, is to respect women and everybody, really.
Yes, I think maybe in politics the sample of men we have is maybe a little bit old-fashioned still. And I'm hoping that as new generations come up, things will be a little bit smoother, and it'll be easier to talk about these things without them being complete controversies.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's true. If we had more women, it'd be as easy as that. We'd just have more representation. It'd be an easier conversation. Or if we had men, as you say, that just spend the time with their daughters, so that they can actually understand what they go through.
Larissa, it goes fast when it's a good one. Thank you for being on the air with us. The book is Ensoulment. Go to ensoulmentfilm.com. Is that the website?
That's it.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
They aim to pressure Russia to end support of Syrian President Bashar Assad. This after last week's deadly nerve gas attack. Meanwhile, a U.S. airstrike and an airbase there has had limited impact.
We've actually been in contact with some of the people who are still in Khan Sheikhoun, that town which was attacked, and they say the bombardment has continued. Assad is bombing at a greater pace than before, so little respite for them there.
Fox's Benjamin Hall. Heavy security in many churches in southern Wisconsin as the hunt goes on for Joseph Jakubowski, accused of stealing firearms from a gun store last Tuesday and writing an anti-religious manifesto.
I do feel a little safer with the extra security. It is a little unnerving at times, but I think I'd rather see it and notice it's there than not see it at all and be wondering what's going on.
The FBI is offering a $10,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Most health insurance plans don't include dental coverage. And with the expenses you already might have, student loans, car costs, rent,